Twitch and YouTube open.
Hello, everybody. This is G, and we are live today. We are streaming live across the wide. This will be recorded for future release on our upcoming show on this coming Friday. Today is a special day. We have several guests in today. We have Alex from Full Battle Rattle.
Hey, everybody.
And we have my eldest, Jesse, all the way from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, formerly of the 101st of the Band of Brothers, the 506. Jess, want to say hi to everybody?
How you guys doing?
And of course, we have again on us.
He's probably MIA again.
All right,
I don't see him, yeah.
I will message him again and get him on here. So today, we want to get...
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's all right. No big deal. Okay. So, yeah, if you guys have anything that you want to talk about, please let us know, and we will get you in on the chat. Ralph, why don't you start us off with a little bit of hobby?
What little bit of hobby I have done? No, a little bit of hobby. I've done a little bit of writing. I'm starting to do some writing up for Ghost Ops. Also, after this episode, I'll check the forum that I put up to see whose times and things like that, and then we can start making more suitable plans to do with when we start and things like that. Also, I'm thinking I may reach out to James from the creator of Ghost Ops and possibly do a one-to-one with him on character creation.
Awesome.
And do that streamed as well, so we can work through the character creation and broadcast it so people can understand. But it's more sorting out times and things like that. So it's just an idea that I've had that I'm busy mulling over, get it up ready for my insurgents.
Okay.
Now, a busy couple of weeks, actually, since our last podcast. I was working with the Ops Center, Episode 3, which is now up on YouTube, Peace of War Victory by Barry Doyle, and updating that to play 1982 Peace for Galilee situations and scenarios. We had a great game last Sunday with the Iron Man of gaming. This guy gets up at like 5 o'clock in the morning because he's in Australia. I'm serious. Especially with the daylight savings time change. This guy was up at before dawn to just, roll dice with us. It was great. This is Dylan. This is LSR 2590 over on the Beast of War on tabletop. Updating the Valor and Victory rule system out of where it was originally written in World War II. Brought it forward. We brought it forward through Vietnam and successfully play tested it there a couple times. So that takes care of the 1960s. We're trying to leapfrog another 2 decades or so, decade and a half, to bring it into the early 1980s. It seemed to work great. We haven't brought in vehicles or aircraft yet, so we're still in kind of the baby steps, but it worked great. It worked live. We're able to play that anytime with anybody. All you need is an internet connection, and that's literally all you need. And I'll take care of everything else, the web conference, the Excel, the rules, everything else like that. We just have a good time.
Excellent.
And it delivered a pretty realistic result. We had some heavy casualties. He did pull off one very, very lucky assault on wiped out my company command group. I didn't like that so much. Yeah, he did. He actually killed my captain and the radio man and all that stuff like that. Took out one of my medics team via medics. Well, awesome. What happens when the PLO starts sniping your medics?
Sounds sticky.
So it got sticky fast. It was great in that direction. Holy crap! This one platoon in the north, they hit a booby trap, and then Dylan rolled snake eyes on one of his firepower checks, took out like 3 more guys, and the rest of the game became about putting down suppressive fire against other PLO groups that were trying to take out that first platoon. If he assaults it, he captures those casualty counters. They're now dead, or even worse, captured. They're going to wind up in a basement in Beirut somewhere with a chainsaw and a power drill and a video camera. You don't want any of that. It's double victory points in game terms. You cannot have that. And casualty evacuation, taking prisoners. It became a mess. Luckily, an Israeli sniper showed up on turn 3 that really helped turn things around for me. And I squeaked by with a very ugly victory. I mean, like a victory I did not deserve. He legitimately won that game. It got stolen from him by the dice gods at the end there. We have some Arab Israeli Wars system pieces for 1982 Lebanon. The game is hopefully getting, and from there, who knows where we'll go from there. But we'll be done with the Arab Israeli Wars for a while.
That's quite a bit. That's a lot of work and a lot of gaming. Alex, how about you? You haven't been on the show in a while. We'd love to hear what you've been up to.
Yeah, it's been a while. I guess mine's been a combination of some more full Battle Rattle stuff. I guess anybody that's been paying attention saw I got my test kit of the lab from the folks over at Trenchworks, and that's pretty exciting. So I've been working on that, making sure it's as good as it can possibly be before it gets in everybody else's sweaty little hands. And eBob just finished some crew for me, your deck. Nice. So that's exciting on that front. Other than that, it's been a mad dash to finish things for Adepticon. I love the DC Universe game as well. It's the other half of my nerdism. So I've been working on that. So just every day trying to get things done. And I think I've made it. Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's the one from Night Models.
Fantastic. So I will definitely see you at Adepticon, and
I'll be there.
And we're going to try and do a live podcast from there as well at some point if everybody schedule these guys from Skirmish Singing as well. So we might have a nice roundtable because I'd love to hear what everybody has to say about this genre. And you guys are kind of like the pathfinders of the modern wargaming, and we want to hear from the industry guys is where you think it's going and where you'd like to see it go. So I'm hoping that'll be a really good conversation to have.
Sounds fantastic.
So, let's see. Still haven't heard from Chris. I'm trying to message him again. But as far as hobby for us, we didn't really do much this week, did we, Jess? Unfortunately, we've had other family commitments. But we did try and do Arma 3 the other night. And
Arma does Arma things. It doesn't work half the time.
Yeah, so we couldn't get it to do it as a server so we could both get on at the same time. But we did err a little bit, and to my shock and dismay, the Apache went down in a ball of flames.
Were you piloting, G?
No, I was not piloting.
No, it was not. It was not another one of Kamikaze G's, fly the friendly skies on one-way plane rental missions. It was no more of that. It's just what happens when you fly an Apache over a nest of SA-14s, and something bad's gonna happen. But I tell you what, you guys made a heck of a mess out of that BMP. That did my heart joy when I saw that happen.
I wish I could say I purposely put the binoculars right there at the right time, but that was pure luck to watch the javelin come in and hit it. So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, that's something we're working on because, like I said, in the past, we are trying to get as many people involved in modern wargaming. Not everybody plays miniature gaming or board, gaming, old-fashioned hex counters. God forbid. So we have to get those youngsters that like the video game. So I did do a little bit of Present Arms hobby, airbrushing the Razor from Spectre. I based it and did a little pre-shading. And then, I don't know if you saw, but I gave some helpful advice about not leaving your brand new airbrush in a vat of simple green for an extended amount of time.
Oh no, what happened?
Oh dear.
So the nice shiny chrome isn't so shiny anymore. So, and then on top of it, let me tell you another little helpful advice. Look at the parts diagram when you're reassembling it, because when you put two parts together the wrong way and they won't come apart and you try and force it, you end up breaking it.
Is that one of the Badger ones you got?
Yes, the brand new Badger one I used once. So I have to order parts. Thankfully, they're not expensive, but it's just kind of frustrating. When you think you've had airbrushes, they all go together the same way. Yeah, that's not. So,
Well,
well.
I have two Badgers myself. The only part I've ever had a problem with is it's got a. I'm going to show my ignorance of airbrushes now. I've literally only used one type of airbrush in my life, and I don't use it that often. It's the small part that goes in the trigger assembly for your two-way trigger.
Yeah.
Where it responds both to your downward pressure with your thumb and also your backward pressure.
Yes.
To open the valve with, so that your needle goes through that plunger, and then there's a piece that kind of holds the needle into the plunger. It's a small U-shaped piece. It's maybe a couple millimeters across. That got bent once, and I guess I got lucky. I was able to bend it back into place very, very carefully, very, very gently without it snapping. And ever since then, it's worked great.
Yeah.
I did lose it once.
Is that a Badger? Is that a unique to Badger design? That little
I think so, because my Iwata doesn't do that.
That's my workhorse is an Iwata, and the needle just goes right through the plunger.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
But I mean, it's a nice airbrush. They're really nice.
So I keep hearing.
Gonna open up my airbrush right now. I'm gonna. If you guys hear any metal pieces hitting the floor, it's my airbrush. I'm trying to find.
If we hear metal pieces hitting the floor and then cursing,
we won't do in them.
The little tension spring just went flying. So
is that like losing a retaining pin for your bolt carrier?
Yes.
Oh no! Don't even go there. You can just send me into flashback mode. I lost one of those. In the armory had these. Our depot armory had these huge vats. It wasn't CLP. It was something else that you were not supposedly allowed to use.
The solvent tanks, the big red ones.
Yeah.
They used to clean them with.
Oh, is that not Clearasil? What's that stuff called?
What we all had was CLP, cleanser, lubricant, and protectant.
Yeah.
In the armory, when you're turning in your weapons, they have these big bathtubs or deep sinks, basically.
Oh, Varsol. Is it Varsol?
I was in 25 years ago, guys. So for all I know, this is like ancient history. But it was some kind of additional solvent that they said you're not supposed. They wouldn't tell us what it was. They just told us it was safe for us to put our hands in there. But that didn't work out so well. But anyway, I lost my stupid pin on the bottom of one of those. So it's like trying to find one of those retaining pins for your firing pin in your bolt carrier group in the bottom of a bathtub full of oil that you can't see through, and you're down there with your hands while it's eating away at your skin. And I mean, I found it eventually because I'm here. I didn't get arrested for ruining an M16 assault rifle, but yeah, that was not a good day. Yeah, it's like a U-shaped piece that has like a little T-bar on the top of it.
Yes.
It basically braces. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. That.
Yeah.
Okay.
It braces your plunger trigger up against the needle or whatever. It has a slight U-shaped bend to it. That U-shaped bend got bent a little bit. Basically, I dropped it on the floor and then stepped on it while I was looking for it.
Oh no!
So
nice.
I was able to bend it back into shape. I got lucky with that. Then I lost it in my dad's shop once. Anyone who's followed my projects on Beast of War knows that my dad's shop is like. It used to be like a 6-car garage. It's the kind of hobby shop that everyone wishes they had. Like if I die and go to heaven, hobbyist heaven is my dad's workshop. He builds cabinets and stuff like that. But anyway, trying to find this piece on that floor, because again, he builds cabinets and stuff, and he's got sawdust all over the place. Finally, we had to go after it with a magnet, and that's when we found that the metal is not magnetic or whatever. It doesn't respond to magnetism. But we eventually found it, and that was a tense moment. But yeah, you got to take care of that airbrush. And you got to keep track of your pieces. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, most definitely. So, lesson learned. Better for me to break it and have to fix it than somebody out there. So, all my stupid mistakes I'll pass on so no one else has to do them. So, other than that, that's pretty much it for right now.
How's the how is that boat coming? Are you still working on that?
It's sitting over there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't really worked on it much lately. It's been kind of a hectic couple of weeks, but I would like to get it done and get it off the table, because I really want to start working on the actual game table. So, building the terrain and designing the scenario, and actually be able to play a game instead of just talking about it. So I seem like we do more talking, and well, at least in my case, and doing a little bit of painting here and there, and not much playing of the game. So definitely would like to change that if at all possible. So Ralph, you got something in the Royal Mail today.
Yes, it's a nice little new rule book for Spectre turned up today. Oh, it's lovely. So
All right, what's your
collective
first
jealousy.
initial impression?
Well, I'll go off the mini first because I've got the mini in front of us. The mini is resin.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, the limited edition mini that they did for pre-orders is actually a resin mini, and it looks absolutely stunning. It really does when you see it close up. The picture the picture that they put up looked really good. Anyway, and Stephen's paint job is always incredible. But when you actually look at the details on it, it's actually really well done. The sculpt is just incredible on it. So another one for Spectre to knock out of the park, as they do with their minis. As for the rule book, I've had a quick skim, very quick. It is bigger than the original, but we sort of guessed that with what they said they were adding into it from the campaign rules.
Right.
So it's an extra 36 pages compared to the original. I've skimmed, and it looks like, I could be wrong, but there's no point values.
That's
What?
nice.
Okay.
You know where the original ones you had point values for the weapons and things like that, yeah?
Yeah.
But from what I can see, and I could be wrong, I mean, I've just skimmed through it, there's no point values on getting stuff, so you just build a loadout of a true unit. So, you would have a collection of spec ops, say 6 men, each of them carrying a carbine, some with grenades and things like that, and you just basically put out the load of each of the guys of what they would be, carrying.
Uh-huh.
When it was off one of the preview shots where you had like a shot of professional forces and militia forces, and then it showed you a breakdown, like 1 sergeant, 1 ranger, yeah, and it just explained what the primary and secondary weapons were in the grenades, yeah.
Okay.
There's that. Other things I picked up on, which weren't in the original, there's detection rules for sniping in ghillie suits now.
Oh, nice.
There's a ghillie detection table.
Awesome. Very cool.
And stuff that was in the original was sniper stalking. So one of the original ideas I had from the first edition was to do a similar sniper team versus enemy. For those that have played Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the Chernobyl mission, which is probably one of the better missions in the original Modern Warfare series from Call of Duty, where it's you and PS or snipers going through Chernobyl.
Okay.
And to set up a sniper perch in Chernobyl to take down one of the villains, and you blow his arm off basically with a 50 cal sniper. But my idea was, you have a sniper team, they start undetected, and it's for the opposition to detect. So they've got to basically stalk across the table and get to a sniper position. You could actually do that now a little bit better, because the detection table's to do with the number of shots you fire.
Uh-huh.
So if you've got an unsuppressed sniper rifle, you roll a d6. After 1 shot, if you get a 6, the person, if you've shot, the opposition rolls a d6, from what I can see here. If they get a 6, if it's unsuppressed, after 1 shot, they don't find you. 2 shots, it goes down to a 5. 3 shots, it goes down to a 4. And the more shots you fire on an unsuppressed one, the easier it becomes to detect you. But I'm assuming that means you're staying in the same place. Yeah?
Yeah.
And of course, if you've got a suppressed weapon, it starts off, if you fire 1 shot and it's suppressed, they don't get a roll. They just can't find you. But if you fire 2 shots, then that's a 6 plus, a 6, and then a 5 plus, so on and so forth. So they've put that type of stuff in. Types of insertion as well for the mission. I'll see if I can find the thing for it. So there's options there for the types of insertion into the scenario. So you can do, here it is, insertion methods. So foot or swim as per scenario, vehicle as per scenario, parachute, number of troops 20, and the insertion rules are troops start within a 12 by 36 deployment zone, dispersed at 4 inches apart from each other. A halo jump is a 12 by 12 deployment zone with
wait a
zero.
minute. You can do a halo jump?
Yep. Halo
All right.
insertion.
How do you do a halo jump?
That's a
It's
very,
just-
very accurate halo jump at 28
Yeah.
millimeter.
Well, it's a 12 by 12 inch deployment zone. So it's a 12-inch square deployment zone for the halo jump. It's just the deployment zone that you get on the table.
So is there some random table within that 12 to 12 where you'll actually land?
It doesn't say, from what I can see. It just, I'm assuming you could put rules in yourself for that.
Yeah.
You know, with using wind, you might be able to use the standard parachute one, which is a 12-inch by 36-inch sort of rectangle.
Yeah, but if you're doing halo, you're using a fast square, so, which is steerable, and they do have GPS that they're using to come in on, so it's pretty accurate. I mean, when we did fast squares, you're aiming for a pretty good target. I'm just wondering how they account for variables such as wind and things.
There's nothing in here for that. I think it's just to give you a difference of deploying your minis on the table and started seeing at the very edge. Yeah. That you actually you can start.
12 inches at 28 millimeter. That's only 56 feet across. That's like 20 yards.
What? That's a problem?
I mean, I'm just saying, I've never done a halo jump, but that sounds really accurate.
Well, how big is the grid you're supposed to, like, what size grid are you landing in with a halo? I mean, I've never have and I never hope to, but how accurate is it? Like, if you've got like a tier 1 team haloing in, how close are they expecting to land with each other?
Probably very accurately, wouldn't they?
I would think.
They'd want to land within a good cover of each other, so they're not dispersed across the mass. I think after the stuff from Normandy showed that, didn't the US parachuting in Normandy showed how dispersed a parachute regiment can get across a large area, can't it, because of the wind and stuff like that.
Well, you got wind and you got people shooting at your airplanes, and
exactly.
You're avoiding fire, and they didn't have electronic navigation and night vision, and you're talking about a couple basically high school, college graduates flying a C-47 into combat in the dark, under fire. So, but yeah,
this is the reason why. And G, you can probably speak to this. Like going back to Overlord, a great deal of Overlord was the 101st using paratroops as actual parachutists, and then 82nd was not entirely, but largely done with gliders. You had a lot of glider assault regiments in those days.
Well, the 325 was the glider regiment.
325 and 327.
Yeah, and then the 505th. 505th. I'm trying to remember. Back in World War II, it wasn't the same regiments that there are now. I know it's the 505th and the 504th back then, or the 508th. I cannot remember off the top of my head. Were they parachute regiment? So, but
well,
the
if it begins with a 5, it's usually paratroopers.
Yeah.
If it begins with a 3, it's usually
so
at least it was then.
Yeah, but they still had a lot of glider-borne troops, and they did it in Arnhem as well. So
absolutely, they did it in Arnhem. They did it with the British, and of course the Germans. The Germans were doing this in Norway, Holland. The whole point of a glider team in those days was exactly what Ralph is talking about, is to get the guys all on the ground together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you really want to talk about accuracy when it comes to airborne operations, you got to talk Pegasus Bridge. I mean, that's
you landed right on top of it.
Yeah, essentially. So,
what about the Germans with what was it, Abn Div?
Yep, they landed
on the roof, right?
On the roof of the building.
Yeah.
So, I've been to Pegasus Bridge. I've stood where the first one is said to have landed. I've looked back at where the replacement bridge is. The original bridge isn't standing there anymore. It's absurdly close, but it's a lot further away than 56 feet.
Something else I've picked up
on, further than 56 feet.
Back on the topic. Not World War II. Stop it. No, no, seriously though. Is the campaign framework. Chapter 11 is their campaign framework.
Uh-huh.
So it's the rules for creating campaigns. Couple of things picked up on is you can award experience. So you can have a narrative campaign that will give your troops experience. There are points cost in there because you might need to replace a trooper. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's point costs there for the combat levels. Yeah. It's got recovery times as well. So say, for example, you've got a medium wounded trooper. Yeah. D3 weeks or misses one mission. So they've put it in. So say, for example, you've got in it, you complete the mission, but you've got, say, 2 injured troops, one of them lightly wounded, one of them medium wounded, and you're going to do the next mission. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's, say, straight afterwards in the terms of the narrative, that troop would miss the mission. You would have to get a replacement in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's bringing in that level of it would happen like that within that. Of course, they've got the rules for drones, chemical weapons, CBRNE, hazmat, ECM, biological, radiological weapons, and missions around that. One of the scenarios I picked straight away, the first sort of scenario that they put in, well, it's not the first one, but it's the first one that caught my eye, is a one called Covert Chaos, which is in the back of the book. And it's a force of organised criminals trained have kidnapped a Gulf banker in Dubai and attempt to extort him. Unbeknownst to the criminals, the banker is moving money for IS and is also a CIA source of dubious reliability. Through information,
dubious reliability from the CIA. Surely you just
maybe.
So not human with dubious reliability either, is it?
Yeah. Through the
Someone
information
you're paying...
gathered in Syria, Russian Overseas Intelligence Service, the SVR, have learned of this and have deployed a Spetsnaz team to capture the banker. As fate would have it, they are moving on the same target and the same site as a team of Delta operators and the criminals. So technically, you've got a 3-way battle going on. So you've got 6 Spetsnaz, 6 Delta, and 15 criminals in this scenario.
Interesting.
Very cool.
There's
Very
some
cool.
really, really cool. And of course, the back, which is really good, is their quick reference guide. And an index, of course. Which
they got an index now?
Yes, there's an index in the back.
Isn't it amazing how something as simple as an index makes such a difference?
We've had that discussion so many times.
It's amazing how things like indexes and decent tables of contents went out of fashion for a while. And how we had to bring them back, and now it's lauded as like this great new feature. They used to have these all the time, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a huge difference and a huge help, and awesome addition to the book.
Oh, it's an awesome addition. And the vehicle section now has main battle tanks.
Okay, all right.
What? Oh, God.
Okay. Jim? Don't go. Don't go, Jim.
Be in my chair, and I'm being quiet.
So, all right, 28 mil, main battle tank. We'll just use the M1 because that's what I'm familiar with. You put it on one edge of a 6x4 table or an 8x4 table. It's going to go through everything on the table.
Yep.
It's going to cross the table in less than 2.5 seconds. Not shoot across the table, move across the table.
Yeah. They've put main battle tanks in. They've got Cold War era tank, which I'm assuming is things like the T-55 that was probably turned up in Africa.
Okay.
Would the T-55 be in Africa in those?
Where didn't the T-55 turn up? T-55 is the cockroach in the outer world.
It's like an AK-47. You'll find them everywhere.
It's literally, they're there.
So you've got a Cold War era version tank. You've got a World War II era tank.
That's kind of cool.
Which World War II era tank do they use?
It just says it's just a generic, like a.
So you can put whatever you want there.
That could be like a T-34 though. You know, if
that's
you
what
want
I'm
to
thinking. Yeah.
That's going to be a T-30. A T-30. Sherman, or in a lot of the war.
Then you've got
the 60s and even 70s.
Then you've got a main battle. Then you've got what's called the main a modern tank, And then you've got the modern tank with, is it Abelek armor? Abelican armor?
Oblique armor, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the one.
That's
Yeah.
basically going to be ERA panels,
Mhm.
explosive reactor armor panels, laser panels. If you go by Israeli terminology,
Yeah,
it's not. It's armor that it's not part of the tank. It gets bolted on by the crew afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit like what they did with the Warrior and stuff, where you see the side panels on and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, just a quick side note for a comment that just popped up. No one should ever be that happy about math. I'm just going to put that out there right now.
What?
But yes, it is a very, very, very nice book. They have. Let's be honest. No offense, Alex, but they are killing it. I think Spectre from a point of view of what they're producing in the way of their rule books and some of their minis.
Oh, God,
And they've
I'm taken.
And they've done it again. I think with this. This
I
is
think
just.
Aside from my own stuff, and I'm biased. I think they're my favorite guys out there for modern stuff. They're unparalleled. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and God knows what they've got planned for the future, shall we say?
Well,
But
we'll
yeah,
have to
they've-
find out. It's Adepticon.
I was going to say you could try. I was going to say you could try and pin them down, but you know what they're like, G.
Yeah.
They keep things very, very close to their chest.
Well, I'm
But-
hoping that we can build a great relationship with, I'd really like to see a consortium of the modern wargaming, industry. So Alex and, all the people that are in that. And I think while, everybody has their own business model and they're trying to survive in the world of gaming, they could also come together as a consortium to help grow it, and it benefits everybody. So, I mean, because Alex, in your case, you kind of specialize in an area that Spectre doesn't at this point.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. The modern. I think there's no better time to be into modern or ultra modern gaming. I think we're spoiled for products and rules and terrain now. Like looking at the stuff from Blackside Studios, and we're working with some Canadian guys here on let's call it generic Middle Eastern buildings, but they're really modeled on Afghan mud buildings. But there's no. It's never been this good, right? There's a plethora of choice. But that being said, modern, ultra modern gaming is still a really small part of the hobby.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of us can afford to really step on each other's toes, because how many people are buying? I don't know. But pull an example from the like whatever it is, Boko Haram bad guys, right? Like 3 companies can't make them.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's not enough people buying them for us to have, the same way you'd have a Zulu Wars range where it's such a bigger part of the hobby, and multiple companies can survive producing them. In the modern gaming sphere, our consumer base is much smaller to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
If I started making German World War II infantry, Battlefront's not losing any sleep.
Right,
No.
right. If I'd probably have some cold sweats if somebody released 2006 to 2014 Canadians. I'd be like, oh shit, because it's just not that big.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the challenge, and it's a hard space to play in. Because it is still kind of, it's like a niche within our hobby, which is a niche, but again, I mean, I've never seen it this big. When I got into modern gaming, I was sort of like 20 mil seemed to be the scale to use because no one was doing it in 28 really.
Mm-hmm.
And you had Force on Force and what else, and now look at our choices.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I fell into. For modern miniature gaming, I mean, most of my gaming is Sex Encounter, but my miniature modern gaming is all 20 mil. And I didn't really pick it. It was picked for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you had to rely on the plastic model industry for your vehicles and hope you could get what you needed. I remember, call it 10 years ago, I'm looking at, maybe not quite, but you're buying like Elheim, best of the best in a 20 mil miniature. But then where do you find a T80? Where do you find like an M1A2? you need a Lav 25. Like you're using these horrible plastic kits from Russia.
Tamiya, yeah.
But now
my
there's more
Ukrainian
again. But
one
Yeah, there's
is
a lot more choice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
like
Ukrainian-
models or you'd get them and there'd be like flash through your whole plastic model sprue that you'd have to carve the parts out of. So now we're spoiled. Like I look at my Lav kit, I look at what Spectre or Special Artisans coming out with, and we've got any vehicle, an Empress. Like you can get anything. You can get a Leopard, you can get a Lav, you can get a Gaz Tiger. Whatever you need, it's there.
It's
my
the choices are
Ukrainian
nice.
BMP1 is actually from the Ukraine.
There you go.
The model company is from the Ukraine, and it's not the best model kit. Let's just put it that way.
So, Alex, let's give you some airtime for Full Battle Rattle.
Sure.
What you're working on? What do you got coming out?
Like I said earlier, our Lav is like imminently in production. We ran into a bit of a production hiccup, let's say. So we're just trying to resolve the best way, to get you guys the best kit we can offer. And that I'm still hoping we'll see it by Adepticon, but it all depends on the producer's schedule. We've got crew figures coming for it, so you can pop a crew commander, your gunner, or air sentries on the rear deck. So, for those that don't know, most labs would operate with guys poking their heads out of the back hatches on the deck to look for, whether it's an IED threat, an ambush, anything like that.
Sure.
So we've got those options since all the hatches you can model them open or closed.
Nice.
We also, I'm hoping in the same time we'll have the big T-mount antennas for the rear deck of the Lav too. They started producing those for more, longer range communications, counter IED like ECW, that kind of stuff. So that's coming. And then from there, I don't know. I don't know what's next for us. We've got the new, what's it called now? Tactical armored patrol vehicle coming into use with the Canadian Armed Forces. It's a big old 4-wheel kind of armored V-haul patrol. I don't know what to call it. It's like a patrol vehicle. I guess it's kind of like the JLTV or something like that.
Okay.
Carries 6 guys, so it's really a dismounted or a patrol vehicle with dismounts. Beyond that, I don't know. I mean, it didn't exist when I was in. But my take on it is it's not like an ICV or something like that. It really is a patrol role vehicle. So that might be something to consider. I don't know. It's sort of I got to see where the state of the state of the industry goes to, and that can affect some of my decisions.
Of course,
I may think I still want to do Afghan Army. I want to stick with the Afghanistan theme. But who knows? In 6 months, someone else may come out with them first, and then what do I do? But who knows?
Awesome.
I must admit, I'm looking at your minis here, Alex, and I mean they do look really good. Yours, and I was just thinking from point of view of modern gaming and putting them into a rule set. Not just skirmish, but also ultra combat. They would be perfect to work with as a force within the ultra combat. When that finally hits at the end of this year, November-ish, because then a possible idea might be to create like a sniper team and things like that to go with them, and then you can be able to build the force out.
That's sort of the idea, and I mean, as it stands now for most of the game systems that are the heavily played, my range is relatively complete. Of course, there's things like a marksman team or I don't really know what else I'm missing. I mean, I've got the Carl Gustav, which is my favorite pair of figures in my range. I love that thing. I really do.
Yeah, it looks really good actually. I've just looked on your blog at the one with the K9 unit as well.
Yeah, I've got an engineer with a sweeper. A counter IED with the dog. So we can take advantage of the whether it's Spectre or Sangin rules for those ats and debts that might be with your force. Beyond that, the marksman team. I kind of wanted to do a guy with the big Ghostbuster backpack. There was the backpack kind of electronic counter warfare thing, and it looked like the Ghostbusters thing. Those little things that if I can make them work, I'd love to have, but they're not necessarily sort of mission critical pieces.
Right.
So there's always options to grow the range for sure. I'm just glad it's been so well received so far. It sort of way exceeded my my expectations.
Awesome. Jess, did you work with any of the Canadians when you were in Afghanistan?
I didn't work with any Canadians. I worked with Polish, Armenian. I saw a few of what is the joint
Could
task
be
force 2.
CSOR or JTF2. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some of those guys over there. Didn't actually get to work. Ended up working with SF. Those guys, they know what they're doing.
Well, that's the next thing. There's usually a Canadian asking me, Alex, when are you doing CAN Softcom, right? Are you
Or JTF
whether that's
too, yeah.
JTF or CSOR? But the challenge there is these days, like, an operator looks like an operator, right? They're in Cry uniforms. They've got some kind of fast bump helmet, and they've got some kind of tooled up AR platform, right? What's the Spectre? The Spectre guys could be CSOR or JTF. So the last time they had a unique look to them was probably 2012 or 13 in Afghanistan, where they still wore the CADPAT uniform and kind of unique gear. So that may be another option too. All depends.
Cool.
There's lots of options there, though, isn't there?
Never ends.
So, Alex, I have another option for you
All right.
to think about. So we're talking about doing a boot camp. It'd be nice to see some Canadians participate in the boot camp.
Okay.
We'll have to talk about it at Adepticon, but it'd be a good time for you to show off some of your troops, vehicles, and we have nothing set in stone yet. It's still on the planning stage, but we'd love to see you involved as well. So let's talk when we get to Adepticon about it. So that'd be awesome.
I'm in. I'm sure there's a cold beer to have that discussion over.
Excellent. Just one?
I mean, it's live and we can't edit what I say, so it's
Yeah. So, the other thing, news-wise, and I don't know if you all recognize, I can't remember which one of us in the team posted this, but at the Facebook page, somebody shared from Warlord a quick peek of Radar Lock, Blood Red Skies Modern Air Combat.
I don't know.
I think that was Chris.
Okay.
And I saw that and went, what? Because it's just the top panel, isn't it? It's just like a sheet of paper inside of a Blood Red Skies rulebook. Yeah. So are they going to do modern?
Does that mean there's going to be F-14s?
Why haven't I seen this? Where is this?
It's on there. It's on the Warlord's Facebook page as well, actually.
Yeah, we shared it. It's on our Facebook page. Yeah,
it's on our Facebook page as well.
Okay. Jim, you there?
Yes.
Okay, you've been awfully quiet.
Listening.
You've been awfully quiet. So
I'm just listening.
I know. Modern jet combat. What scale does Blood Red Skies? Does anybody know?
I don't
I think it's 1/200.
Is it 1/200? Okay.
I think.
Yes, because I think it matches with Cruel Sea as well.
Okay.
I think the planes are to the scale that they would be against the ships in Cruel Sea.
Okay.
Because Warlord it's not Warlord. Yeah, it might be Warlord has just dropped a barrage balloon for Cruel Sea.
Really? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So I'm assuming they may be trying to intermix them, shall we say?
Cruel Seas is 1/300.
Right.
Okay.
But I'm not sure what.
Yeah.
Blood Red Skies says. Well, so Jim, let's say it's 1/200 scale. What are we talking about? A 4x6 table? I don't even know what size of a table they play on. Does anybody have an idea what the playing surface?
I'll have a look now.
Okay.
Is that
I haven't tried it.
Was it Crimson Skies? Blood Red Skies, wasn't
Blood Red Skies. My only thought is if you're playing modern jet combat warfare,
Yep.
thank you, Sobek, for 1 of 200. Yep. Scale is 1 of the 200. Okay. For Blood Red Skies.
It's 6x4, I think, is what they're
6 by
saying is
4.
the average
All right.
size.
So what is
table.
a 6x4 table in real life terms, Jim? To your best approximation.
Do math now, Jim.
It's 6.
Bring that math.
It's
Come on.
6 times 200. It's 6 times 200. That's why they call it 1 to 200.
Okay.
It's 1,200 feet. So yeah.
That's quite close for modern combat. Modern combat, isn't it?
That is literally a
what was the
nanosecond.
question?
Sorry, Jim?
Well, an AIM-9 Sparrow. I mean, what was the question? An AIM-9 Sparrow, which is the shortest in existence
Mm-hmm.
that I know of, the range at 1 to 200, that works out to 240 feet, and that's the shortest range missile that possibly exists. Then you go up to the AIM-7 Sparrow, which is out to a range of 20 nautical miles, and then you got things like, I bring this up because Jenna, before you mentioned the Tomcat. The Tomcat's primary missile is the Phoenix air missile, long-range missile. That thing has a range of something like 120 to 60 to 120 miles, depending on the version. So even at 1 to 200, you're shooting into the next town. Like,
Yeah.
you're in this town, and your friend's plane is in another club in the next city. I'm sure the miniatures look great, but I don't see how that game is really gonna.
I'm wondering if instead of doing modern, because it looks like they might be moving into Korea. With their Korean source book, whether that's a World War II source book or for the Korean Peninsula, or a Korean 54 onwards sort of thing, whether they'll do it with those planes, like the MiG-21, or even do it in
Korean War is MiG.
Was that MiG-15? Was it, Jim?
Korean War's got MiG-15, and the Korean War is modern. I mean,
Right.
anything after 1945 is modern.
Yeah. I'm just wondering whether they're doing it in that era instead of doing it in F-14 Tomcats, F-16s, F-18s, MiG-21.
But before we completely start, I don't want to sound like I'm being super negative on a game of which I've read nothing, but it could be that the game is not meant to be like really to scale.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, the miniatures are 1 to 200, but maybe it's like 1 inch to a nautical mile or something like that.
Yeah.
You put the plane to show where your plane is and which way it's facing,
Sure.
which way it's going, maybe a little marker for what altitude it is. It's definitely possible. I mean, wargamers do this all the time. It's just that in a lot of ground combat games, we fall into the trap of, it has a true line of sight mechanic. And the true line of sight means that the table and the terrain has to be in scale with your units, because a lot of a lot of these people might come over from, say, a model railway, kind of a hobby background or whatever, where the point of the hobby is to literally create a scaled representation of what this place really looks like. Whereas a lot of war games don't try that because it's impossible. Like we just demonstrated it. You're literally at 1 to 200, you're shooting missiles across like 5 miles. I'm not kidding. I mean, it's some of these like cruise missiles and stuff like that. It's just insane. So you just kind of dispense with the idea of trying to represent it in a real scale, and then I'm sure the game works great.
Now, our club here in Toronto's had some really good games of Check Your Six Jet Age.
Yep.
And we play it in 3mm scale on a 6x4.
Wow.
And you're playing shoot across the table, but the most modern scenario in any of their books is Gulf of Sidra. So your Top Gun, your Top Gun mission. So it's not ultra modern in sort of the sense of we don't have F-22s out against MiG-29s, but you've got earlier kind of radar or heat lock missiles. There's Korean missions, Indo-Pakistan, Arab-Israeli, that kind of stuff. So maybe it's along the same vein.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but I mean, these super new aircraft or whatever that we're talking about, MiG-29s and F-22s, they're firing the same Sidewinders. that F-16s were firing in the late 70s. Now, those Sidewinders, their electronics and their computer guidance and their navigation has been upgraded and upgraded and upgraded.
Yep.
But they still shoot the same 9 miles and they carry the same warhead. Modern warfare, especially once you get out of the, M4 assault carbine kind of a level and you're up into the tanks and then the helicopters and the aircraft and everything else, becomes shockingly unmodern. The rate at which it's progressing is because it's so expensive. And, knock on wood, the world is still largely at peace. That things are not progressing that fast.
Yeah.
We got B-52s that are flown by their dad. The people that are flying the B-52s were literally the same plane was flown by that same officer's father in the 1960s. I mean, we've got the F-15 is still one of our frontline fighters. Some of these have been around since the 1970s. They've been around almost as long as I have. And that's saying something.
You think about it, Jim. It could be third generation pilot. If you think about it,
it's going to get there.
Yeah.
It's going to get there. Some of these B-52s have been around. B-52 came out in the mid-50s. I don't know if those exact planes are still in the air, but the type obviously is still in the air.
Yeah.
And they're not talking about retiring the fleet entirely until like the 2030s. So some of those planes could theoretically be in the air at 80 years. We build aircraft carriers now with an idea for them to last 70 years after like a 20-25 year SLEP program, service life extension program. They take it in and completely overhaul the ship. They take out the reactors. We just now retired USS Enterprise, sadly. I think she was decommissioned in 2012. She was commissioned in like 1962, 1960. So she was around 50 years.
Yeah.
As far as how far back modern goes, modern technology, and I know I keep beating this drum, but modern warfare, like what defines modern warfare, has a lot less to do with technology than it has to do with doctrine, media, the general climate of the world, culture. It's about what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. There's no more total wars. I think that's the big thing about what modern warfare is really going to be about. But as far as technology goes, in some ways, of course, the computers, GPS, really piloted vehicles, it's advancing so fast we can't even keep up with it. But in some others, I mean, the the M4 carbine is really just a descendant of the M16 we've been carrying since the mid 60s. These things are 30, 40, 50 years old.
What's interesting here is you want about the B-52 here, Jim. Yeah, I've just brought up the page on it. It was put in service in 55.
Okay, so I was right there.
First introduced in 1955. It was first flight and was in 52, and they were upgraded in 2013 to 2015. They're expected to stay into service until 2050.
2050? I thought it was the 2030s.
No,
so 100 years.
Yeah, about 100 years.
This thing's going to have a life, not the same aircraft.
Not the same aircraft, but
the actual, but that type is going to have a lifespan of 100 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's crazy. But yeah, I've actually been in the market for some sort of air combat modern that's easy to get into, and more importantly, air combat or a certain naval combat modern, because what we might do for Op Center after we're done with Average Really Wars is go into 1982 Falklands. Because that's one of the very rare chances you get to see large-scale air combat in a symmetrical sense, and especially large-scale naval combat. There's technically naval modern combat happening right now. Somali pirates, Indonesian pirates. But as far as like actual warships firing cruise missiles at each other, that doesn't happen very often. In a historical sense. I mean, Team Yankee, theoretical, whoa, whatever. That's fine. You know what? It's all fine. That's
what if, though. That's a what if scenario. You're right. The last time there was actually a shooting war with ship on ship or plane on plane, really.
Like large scale,
Large scale is the Falklands.
That's
the Britain going down to the South.
I definitely want to give that one a go. I just got to find. Harpoon obviously is the first answer. Larry Bond's Harpoon. This is the guy who helped Tom Clancy write his first couple books.
Yeah,
he's the reason Tom Clancy books were ever any good, which I don't know if they were ever any good, but the reason he got his reputation, as he knew what he was talking about, was because he had Larry Bond writing half the book. I mean, especially with Red Storm Rising, his early stuff, Red Storm Rising and Hunt for Red October. Yeah, Larry Bond actually wrote a lot of that book. Anyway, he went on to Command at Sea is like one of his game systems. Harpoon for his moderns for naval combat. The problem is his games are great, but holy crap, man, they are.
Have you got that degree in maths ready for Harpoon?
Yeah. Reading the rule book is like, eating a salad bowl full of wet gravel. It's just you're going to be at it. You're going to be at it for a while, and it's going to be heavy. But anyway, we're into it. We're definitely into either modern air, to get us back on topic, either modern air or modern naval wargaming. It's tougher than it sounds.
Yeah.
And I applaud anybody who tries it in any way. So I don't want to sound like I'm getting down on anybody. Kudos to anybody who even tries it, because believe me, folks, it is tougher than it sounds.
I'd steer towards. I mean, certainly Blood Red Skies, whenever it gets here, is worth a look. But the Check Your Six Jet Age is awesome fun. It's kind of popcorny, but it's got the right feel. There's altitude levels. You only get so many missiles. You've got to be in behind to get a heat lock, stuff like that. And they've got Vietnam, Falklands, Indo-Pac, Korea. I'm missing
Nice.
one. Arab Israeli.
Oh yeah.
And we do it on a 1.5 hex maybe with 3mm scale, like 1/600.
Jim just had a happy
Tumbling dice planes.
I have to log off for a few minutes, guys. I need some.
Oh boy! But I'd recommend it. Drop me a message if you want some more info, Jim. But Check Your Six has been fun. Really fun.
I thought of an interesting participation game of sorts, or an idea for a participation game, and it would involve technically a 3-tiered table.
Ooh.
So you have the top level, which would be the aircraft, yeah. The next level would be the sea, and the level below that would be submarines.
Oh.
So naval. So you're doing like a full naval, engagement, and you've got subs and aircraft and the ships on the 3 different tiers. So just seeing that on it might be an interesting,
two answers.
Mm-hmm.
2 answers. That's definitely doable, but for a long time. I don't know about if anyone's done it for modern, but for a lot of Pacific and D-Day games. Not really D-Day because there's not a lot of naval action for D-Day, but in the Pacific.
Yeah.
Whereas I've been in a lot of games like that, where it's air, sea, and land. There's basically 3 games going on in conjunction, and you need referees. It definitely has to be some sort of a team or participation thing. But there are people who've tried it and people who've done it. I don't know if they've done it for moderns, but yeah, it would definitely be doable. But it would be a lot of work. Those games it'd be not to be approached that way.
No, you'd want it to have it planned and have GMs and something robust. But I think as a participation game, especially if you go to a convention, say like Adepticon or Salute, and you saw that, especially if it was within a modern era, say, you could do a what if, you could do the Falklands, you could do, something off the coast of Taiwan, make it a what if China did something, with their navy around there. I think seeing that on the table would draw people to it. It's almost like seeing the OTT Hoth table.
Yeah.
When that probably got a lot of people drawn to it, because it's Hoth, it's Star Wars, but also the look of it more than anything. Seeing this participation game of that. So I'm just off the top of my head, a participation game of say Sea and Air might be something really interesting to see if done properly.
And not to toot our own horn, but that table was freaking amazing, and it was really good, and it was a lot of work, and I can't claim any of the actual design work because that was all the guys in Ireland. But when we brought it to Adepticon a few years ago, it was very popular. And so, but it wasn't as popular at Adepticon as it was at Salute, because Adepticon, you're there to play games, so you don't have a lot of free time. So getting in a participation game is difficult because your days are, as Alex can tell you, is booked. With I got to go to this tournament, this game, so on and so on. At Salute, it was 4 deep around the table the whole day.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
but
But
yeah,
Salute's a different type of convention, though, really, isn't it? So I would class Salute as you're going there to buy stuff.
yes, it's a big shopping day.
It's a big shopping day. You've got some games going on. You've got some participation going on. But Salute is you are going there to see the dealer, whether they've got their new rule book out or they're showing off some new stuff that'll come out at the back end of the year that you can pick up, or get the exclusive mini.
Yeah.
That they do.
Yep. So, real quick, if anybody out there that's listening and you want to come and join our conversation, just hit us up on one of the messaging, and I will invite you into the conversation at any point you're interested in adding something. So, something that came up, my oldest is sitting here. How do you recruit younger players into wargaming, especially obviously modern in our case? And you being a veteran now, do you feel that modern is off limits, or what would draw you into playing a modern wargame, Jesse?
I mean, honestly, I didn't even know there was modern wargaming up until the last couple months. You were telling me about it, because I've been Warhammer player since I was 12. But I don't really see a lot of this stuff out in stores. People don't buy this stuff. There's not a lot of knowledge going around. I think if you're going to do something to try and draw more people in, I'm sure there's a lot of young people who play Call of Duty and all these video games with all these special forces and tier 1 operators and these really cool guys with all the nice gear who run around and do bad things to bad people. If they see this, they're going to want to play it, but they just need to find the information for it. So it needs to get put out on social media, and I mean, even with your blog right now, you're going to get it out to certain people and they can tell their friends and family. But it's just a big media thing itself right now, because I'm interested in just seeing and talking to you or listening to you guys right now, and I kind of want to get it. I even looked up Spectre's website and some of the other websites while we were doing the podcast, and I mean, this is so much cheaper than Warhammer by far. I mean, in the last 10 years, I think I spent almost $2,000 and barely have half of a full working army in Warhammer. And,
One of us.
Yeah. So, this is
the greater good.
Interest way more, because I'm not, I don't have deep pockets, but this is definitely a more affordable option to play.
Yeah, I think, and I sort of made the comment about this on table, is Games Workshop have just put out that new box set that's just coming out, and it's
which one? There seems to be a new box set every week these days.
It's the Shadow Spear one that's coming out. That's £105. Yeah, and that's what I looked at it and went, how many? And yes, I can understand. And Games Workshop has got the market. They are the leader. Whatever we can. We might not like the system, or we might not like the law, or whatever. It is a behemoth, and they do things well. My thing with that is, how many of the kids that play 40k can afford that? Afford £105 box set.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money for no offense, but little pieces of plastic. Where we can pick up. Say you're going to run Spectre and you need, say, 30 miniatures. Say, well, probably not 30. 6-man special forces team is probably going to run you at, say, 20 quid if you buy one of the pre-created sets, say a dev group. So you get 2 sets of the insurgents, which were about £20 each. So that's another say 14 miniatures. You could have for about 30 quid, say £30. Being from Britain, I'm going to go in pounds. Proper money.
Proper money.
Proper money. Yes.
Funny money.
But for say about 50 quid, including a rule book, you're set up. with from a game of playing moderns. That's with no terrain, of course, but terrain, MDF terrains. You can pick it up. You can put some boxes down to simulate terrain. If you just want to get started, and then think about terrain moving forward. Whether you go down Blackside, Foreground, Sarissa, or one of the many other companies that create terrain out there. But it's getting the traction, I think, of telling people that there is alternatives out there. Especially younger gamers and and people that don't have deep pockets.
I think the easy conversion is guys like you, Jesse, where you're already a veteran, you've served in the conflicts we're gaming, and you're like, I can get a force for $40, right? And you're using the tactics you trained in, the environments the AOs you were either in or trained to be in, and there's an immediate sort of appeal. And it's cheaper than a GW game, which I also play, but the point of entry is much smaller, and it's a different world. I think that's sort of the easy access. How you convert the others, I don't know, but trying to find the magic sauce.
Well, I haven't played a game yet, so I don't know how the rules and all that stuff works out. But if I had sat down and played a game or two, got the basic understanding of it, and then had the time to develop my own units and all that, and then set that up for playing in tournaments or with other people consistently like I used to with Warhammer, I could at least tell other people, hey, this is a lot easier to play than Warhammer. It's cheaper. It's more fun. We've done this stuff. Like you were saying, we've been here. We know what we're doing. And then it has that little bit of, what do they call that? Can't think of the word. Kind of like it brings good memories back, because a lot of people who have deployed, they kind of miss it sometimes.
Familiarity.
Yeah.
And so it brings back some good memories and some bad ones, but it's the fun stuff. We don't have to sit out in the mud and the rain and dumb stuff to pretend like we're doing cool stuff again.
Yep. Yeah, it's all the good stuff without the 23 hours of wet, muddy sand in your cracks. And
well, after playing a game, especially these games, Force on Force, you don't have to spend 6 hours cleaning your rifle afterwards.
This is true. Or, when you have to turn in your TA-50 or your field gear to this freaking supply people, and they send it back to you because there's a little speck of red dirt somewhere.
You don't like those supply people, do you, Gene? That's what it is.
Just busting your chops.
You just don't like those supply guys. That's all right. While you guys were talking, I did some quick scratch math here. My entire of moderns, and I've got basically 3 armies, comes out to $118. I'm sorry, 118 pounds, $160. Wow. That's 120 plus 8. That's 120 infantry plus 8 vehicles, BMP, T-72, T-64, and a lot of these I had to buy expensive. I had to buy basically when you're short on time and long on money, so to speak. In other words, this is going to be for an article series or for a video or something. I had to buy like Corgi models, which are not cheap.
Yeah.
They're great detailed, and they come in the right scale, 1:72. I was gaming at the time. So I even with that overpaying, I just did it. It comes out to $160, 118 pounds roughly, whatever the 4X rate is at the moment. So yeah, what was it, like 110 pounds for, what was it, a vehicle or for a unit you guys were talking about before?
Yeah.
Ralph, what is it you guys were talking about?
Mm-hmm.
The starter set for...
Oh, it's a starter set, okay.
Yeah.
And it usually only comes with like one leader guy, a whole squad of infantry, and maybe a second squad of infantry or special unit, and you're looking at almost over $100 for just that.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah, you got to buy 3 times as much to actually play.
Yeah, because that's not even enough to let you play a base game by itself.
Yeah.
No, I mean, other people around where I live don't have miniatures, so if I'm going to have anyone play, talk about how to recruit somebody, build more than one army.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because if you come up to somebody and you say, hey, I got this great game, you want to play it with me? Even if they are interested for that heartbeat, you can say, here, you can use my guys, and then if you like it, maybe you can start buying your own guys. But if they get interested and you say, okay, cool, here are some websites to go to, I'll send you a bunch of links, get ready to spend $500, wait 6 months, then do 6 months of work to build it and paint it, and we'll meet back next Christmas and we'll have our game. Take a wild guess how many recruits you're going to have doing that.
Yeah.
So the way I've been doing it is, like I said, that $160 force I was talking about, that's 3 armies. That's a Soviet, or not Soviet, a Russian. Basically, it's green. It's a Russian regular force army, a insurgent army, and an American. You can either use them for Marines or mostly Army. It depends on the vehicles. Desert, kind of a 1991, 2003, kind of a desert force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you have.
Just cut out there, Jim.
Was he still there?
Are you there, Jim?
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I still here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
You're really cutting out, Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, well, I think that's gonna.
Saying is that armies, and then
yeah. Unfortunately, Jim, we keep losing you. I don't know if we have a bad connection with you or if there's a short somewhere in a wire somewhere. Just wanted to one other thing for you, Jim, is I don't know how much you peruse the gaming news and stuff, but it seems like there's quite a few Kickstarters going on for hex and counter type games, and it seems like those games are making a big comeback these days. So something to keep an eye on. Does anybody else have any last minute things they would like to talk about before we wrap up for the day?
We might have a guest wanting to join us, G.
Oh.
James Gantry from Feral Inc., the guys behind Ghost Ops.
Oh, perfect. Do you want to...
I'm going to try and add him to the
would you
call.
add him to this?
Yeah, I'm going to... Hold on, I need to...
All right, I've just switched over to a hardline. Hopefully I sound a little bit better now.
You sound much better.
Okay, sorry guys. I was trying to do this wirelessly. I've now gone to a hardline. I'll
just trying to get James in now. There he is. James, are you there?
Yeah. Hello.
There he is.
Hello. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I was just listening to it and I thought, well, I may as well. Why not?
No worries. Well, glad you could join me there, James. What's going on? Do you want to tell us what's going on with Ghost Ops at the moment and what you've got planned for the future? Because I noticed you posted some stuff up on Facebook.
Yeah, the next couple of days we're going to be releasing a third mission pack, which is based around Project Lucifer, the source book. And then we've got the final mission pack, which is going to be the movie rip-off pack, which is 5 adventures based around famous movies. So I think the first one we've got is Predator. And then there's going to be another 4. I think someone's going to do something around 3 Kings. Someone else has mentioned something to do version of Black Hawk Down and so forth. So basically, so put your characters into the movies and reenact them or do them differently or whatever you want to do. But so that's next. And after that, we're going to Antarctica with the last source book, which will be sort of based around the novels of Matthew Riley. We did Ice Station. I don't know if you've read these books, but he's kind of like a Tom Clancy kind of writer. It's very sort of the Scarecrow books are very much Marines going to places and doing outrageous things. So we've got to do an Ice Station type Antarctica. It's basically bringing Ghost Ops into the 21st century and making it more future-proof. So there's going to be a lot of exoskeletons and projected possible weaponry and armaments and so forth. So basically making Ghost Ops sort of viable for the next 10, 20 years, hopefully. And that's kind of it, really.
Sounds like you're moving it to
everybody know?
Sorry there, G.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, why don't you let those who may not be familiar with Ghost Ops, give them a kind of a rundown of what Ghost Ops is.
Okay, so Ghost Ops is a tabletop role-playing game where you play members of the ICO, which is the International Covert Operations Unit. These were set up after 2015, the attacks in Paris, when all the governments kind of arrived in Paris to do a whole peace, hold hands, and declare their unity. Where in the background they were basically discussing an international special forces unit that would recognize no borders and would basically do all the jobs that nobody else could do. Kind of very similar to like the Rainbow Six. So basically, the ICO was created and members were picked from the best special forces units from around the world. In the role-playing game, you get to choose your background, and that can come from anything from the SAS to Delta Force to the Russian and sort of Polish. I think there's something like 25 different special forces units covering 13 different countries in the book. And we've actually expanded this in the expanded books to even more. So all the most famous ones we expect to see there and there, plus extras. We've even got the all-female poaching unit from Africa as a background you can join. You can come from. They're well trained. They're all trained by special forces units and all sorts of things. So they're pretty mad, really. So you basically, and then you kind of have your experience from that, and then you join the ICO, and that's basically it. You join the special forces unit, this ghost unit, if you like, who go around and deal with all the problems, drug cartels, Eastern European gangsters, terrorist units, everything in between, really. And that's basically how the game runs. There's two versions. There's a Fate version, which uses Fate dice. It's not using the Fate rules, but does use Fate dice. And that's the most popular version. And then there's the Savage Worlds version, which isn't as popular, but it is becoming more popular. I mean, I think they're both silver now on drive-through because they've sold pretty well.
Good.
So that's basically Ghost Ops. You mentioned Kickstarters, so I'll promote that as well. We have got Kickstarter
Go
going.
ahead.
Go on then. Definitely there, dude. No, James, just joking.
This is called Wraith Recon. Wraith Recon is a fantasy role-playing game, which you play special forces units in a fantasy world. So you basically play wraiths who go around and protect the lands of Dandaric from the bad guys like Dark Elves and all that gubbins. And you are basically, you have special units. You have repeating crossbows, which are kind of like the assault rifles. We have drones, which are based upon fairies. So you have fairy drones, and you also have animals like eagles and stuff that you can use as surveillance units. You also have the Omni Lens, which is kind of like a comms unit crossed with a night vision goggles, which is all magic based. So basically, it's Ghost Ops in a fantasy world, really.
Well, that sounds interesting. Yeah.
There's actually a really, really good case to be made for that. Do I sound any better now, guys? Or?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. We ran across this recently not recently, a few years ago. I'll be really quick with this. When we ran our fantasy series with Craig Pauls, he's a Piece of Work community member, actually up there in Canada. He's actually in Winnipeg, guys. So I flew up there.
Nowhere.
Yeah. So I flew up there to have like this big participation game that he was running up there, and then we did an article series about it afterwards. And of course, the outcry on Beast of War was, I thought you were the World War II and historical and moderns guy. What are you doing talking about fantasy? And what James was just talking about really struck a chord with that. And you can almost talk about it in terms of what Arthur C. Clarke was, famously once wrote. Sufficiently advanced technology is just magic by another name. I mean, I'm paraphrasing a little bit there, but it's indistinguishable from magic. And whether or not you're in a fantasy realm using magic or you're in a high-tech world using technology, the battlefield problems are the same. You have to be able to see without being seen. You have to be able to move across dangerous ground. You have to be able to shoot 2 bullets where before you only had 1. You have to protect your guys while hurting the other guys. And all the problems are the same, and all the solutions are really the same. The only difference is one universe, for lack of a better word, uses technology and one uses magic. You still need attack helicopters, whether or not they're Apaches or Red Dragons. They're still doing the same thing. You have to fly over the enemy, not get hit by ground fire, and attack certain select high-value targets. It needs to be it needs to be survivable. It needs to be lethal. It needs to have a lot of range. All the problems and all the solutions are the same. It's just the color of the paint, so to speak. But
brings the whole new meaning to the term Ride of the Valkyries to a different level, doesn't it?
Well, Wraith Recon does have, you can have actually air support with Griffin riding air support. You've got mounted crossbows and they can fire.
That sounds like air cavalry to me.
So yeah, that's covered. So
somebody was asking, what's the name of the Kickstarter going to be again?
Wraith Recon. It's actually running at the moment. We're 71% funded. Another 15 days left. So we're close to funding. We're over halfway. But yeah, it's Wraith Recon on Kickstarter.
Okay. Perfect.
So yeah.
So, and then of course we've got
Ralph, how are we on your stops?
Well, that's it. You know, when I get around to after this episode, I'll see how many players and stuff. No, what I was going to ask James, and I'll ask him here, is what I'd like to do, James, at some point is get you with me on Skype again, and I'll bring up the screen and we can go through the character creation. Just I thought as a way of creating a video for people to see the character creation, but also do a little bit more promotion around Ghost Ops, and of course the stream that we're going to be doing with my PMC. As I've mentioned, I'm not using your setting, which most role-playing games allow for that. So I've created a PMC that all the players will be part of called Overwatch.
Right.
So that's going to be who the players, because then it allows for more interesting role-playing moments, because it can be you can move into that grey area a little bit more.
Yeah.
With with what they are asked to do or what they're not asked to do, so on and so forth. So it just allows for more storytelling beats.
Right, yeah, no, I mean, that's not a problem. Well, I mean, we have kind of created a new PMC with Project Lucifer with the Bright Cross PMC unit, which are kind of obviously psychic soldiers rather than normal ones. But Tim Lawyer actually is doing a thing called JTF Chimera, which is going to be used for Ghost Ops, but he's actually making it a lot more realistic. Because obviously, he's an ex-Marine, and there's a few people, and there's something we're looking at with Ghost Ops Future Warriors. We've now got 4 advisors, all of them ex or current military. One of them's Air Force, one's Marine, no one's an intelligence officer. So we're kind of, and we've got another one. I'm not too sure what he did, but he did something. But yeah, they're all military, so hopefully the next Ghost Ops is going to be a lot more close to true military action with obviously the Tom Clancy elements that we threw in.
Yeah. Awesome.
Very cool.
So Jesse's interested in playing.
Is he?
Yep, absolutely.
That's another one. I think I've got the last time I checked, Jay, I think there was 7 or 8 people.
Fantastic.
So I may be recruiting somebody to possibly do shall we say GM1 and I'll GM1 type of thing to try and do.
That might actually work better for different time zones.
Yeah, for people and things. So we'll sort it out.
Yep.
But like I said, James, I'll reach out to you. And we'll try and get you and me on a stream, and we can go through the character creation. The step-by-step character creation. It gives us some content on SITREP, which is what we always want. But it also gives you something to point people to say this is how the character creation works, because I don't know if you do get asked a lot of questions.
Not really. No, I mean, I think character creation is pretty straightforward with the fudge dice. It takes minutes really to make a character, but yeah, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to do something like that. I think it'd be really cool. I mean, the other thing I was actually going to talk to you guys about was the fact that at the back of the Ghost Ops book there is skirmish rules where you can take a character straight from the role playing game into a miniatures battle. And it's something that I've always thought that we could probably do better. And I was wondering if you lot would like to sort of get your give us a hand with all of that and make it a much better game and maybe expand it outwards.
Oh, yeah,
that's
definitely. We'd be
happy
to
I think
work on that with you.
Yeah, we'll definitely put our heads together.
Yeah,
we'll get Jim doing the numbers because he likes math.
Alex has got miniatures.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with I mean, I did actually contacted Spectre when I was working on Ghost Ops about doing miniatures and getting Ghost Ops miniature packs sorted out because they do the cartels and all sorts of stuff with miniatures. But at the time they were kind of, well, no, we've already got our own game and that sort of blah blah blah, which is fair enough. But it would be good to get
possibly when you contact them as well, they were possibly working with Black Powder Red Earth.
Possibly, I don't know. Yeah.
So it might have just been bad timing.
Well, you have Alex here, so I bet.
Yep.
Maybe
I'm happy to
work on something with Alex.
Well, I mean, there's something that's definitely worth thinking about for the next Kickstarter. Would be to do miniatures as either add-ons or something that we could work together, and so give the backers and the players an option to have miniatures if they want it, which would be kind of cool.
Well, what we'll do is we'll pass on contact details.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, at the moment it's still in the planning phase. I'm not really at that point where I need to be worrying about it too much right now because obviously got Wraith Recon coming up and stuff.
Yeah.
Be prime. But yeah, definitely. I mean, it'd be great to work with you lot on a skirmish rule set because obviously then we'd get it would be good to sort of just get you involved and because you know a lot more about it than I do. And it'll make it a really good game. I think it'll make it a lot sort of more interesting. We're definitely up for working with other people and stuff and these things, so it's all good. So yeah.
Now, Ralph, the Ghost Ops you're running, where does one find that? What's the?
It will be on. Well, the Ghost Ops rule set is available through Drive-Thru RPG. Yeah.
And what do you need? Just the rule set and
just need a rule set. But James was kindly enough to offer. If you give me your username on Drive-Thru RPG, you're kindly donating some PDF copies, aren't you, James?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, for the players who are playing, if you haven't, got the PDF and stuff, and you want to play the game, and you're getting involved with what Rifle's doing, then definitely send me your Drive-Thru RPG email, and I'll send you over a PDF. No problem.
All right. Sounds interesting.
Awesome. Anybody else have any last minute things? Otherwise, we're going to close out the show.
Can I just promote something really quickly?
Sure, go right ahead.
It's actually a charity. They're a charity in the UK, and a couple of people might have already heard of them, called Model for Heroes. What they are a non-profit company that supply model kits to armed forces charities and organisations to help with mental health. So any veterans that are suffering from mental health issues and stuff, they'll get them around and they'll get them to build models. So that whether it be tanks, ships, whatever, it's just a really good charity that that I've seen in different places. The website is www.modelsforheroes.co.uk. If anybody can help or if anybody wants any additional information, it is based in the south of the UK at the moment, but I think they're trying to branch out and do more and more. But it just seemed a really good charity, especially dealing with mental health and veterans and things like that. And I just thought we'll give them a shout out on here.
Perfect. Yes. Anybody that sounds like a worthwhile cause. If there's any way we can help Ralph, let us know. I have several kits that we can probably donate as well. I'll
post the URL somewhere so people can go and have a look.
Also, just wanted to let another exciting announcement. We've passed 200 followers on our Facebook page.
Yay!
Awesome.
So, because I promised this in the hobby live stream, I think it was, Jim, if you recall. Once we hit 200, I was going to give away a set of our custom dice bags. So we'll be picking a person at random for a set of the custom dice bags from Cozy Dice, and we'll get those sent out. And I have to make a small confession to David, who won our paintbrushes in our last contest. I just found them, Sorry, the envelope got stuck in between some stuff. I will get them out to you, I promise.
I'm glad you said dice bags and not take them up in a helicopter, G. You know what I mean?
Very funny. Very funny. So,
hey,
that's
G,
awesome.
it wasn't me this time.
I know. You know what? It's well deserved because that was just terrible. It was just terrible flying. When we hit 150 subscribers on our YouTube channel, we will give away another set of dice bags. So exciting things. And
We're pretty close to that right now, aren't we?
What's that? We're at I'm looking at it right now at 139.
139. Oh, we picked up a couple.
Yeah, 139. So we're growing slowly but surely. We're growing. And I know on Podbean we're growing like wildfire as far as subscribers. So we want to thank everybody in the community for everything you do to support us. We want to continue bringing you guys quality entertainment and programming, and we've got exciting things in the works, as you've heard. So make sure you subscribe to all our channels, like, click buttons, whatever they ask. If you're interested in supporting it on a grander scale, obviously we have Patreon. We do appreciate our producers, and I would be remiss if I did not mention them. Also, if you're looking at merchandise, you could... I can't even get the page up. I'm so...
Zazzle.com?
Yes, thank you, Jim.
No worries.
Zazzle.com.
Zazzle.com. Podbean. Sorry, Podbean. Good grief. Zazzle.com/SITREP podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm going to get...
Got him well trained.
He keeps me legit. All right, so here's our producers, our first sergeant level producers: Dennis Cross, Dylan Asmus, Lawrence Townsend, and Michael Bradshaw. Thank you for supporting the podcast. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Without you guys, it is a labor of love, but it sure helps us in the long run. And I want to thank our special guest, Alex from Full Battle Rattle.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's always a pleasure.
And James from Feral Games, right? Is that the... did I... Yes, I did.
Yeah, I mean, people call it various things as well.
Okay. The Ghost Ops guys, as we say in Chicago. The Ghost Ops guys. So if you guys are interested in participating in Ghost Ops, reach out to Ralph. He is the coordinator of all that. And just a quick
there's a link in the Facebook page to the Google Drive form, which I missed something off the Google Drive form, which
what's
is
the
really
name
clever.
of our, what's the actual name of our Facebook page? We got someone in the chat asking that.
I'm about to paste it in the chat now for them.
For our actual Facebook page?
Yeah.
SITREP Podcast, Modern Military Wargaming. So it's just, if you look at Facebook and search at SITREP Podcast as one word, it'll come up.
Awesome.
So, yep, we'll put the links up for that. Guys, thank you very much for everything. This has been our first live show. It went okay, I think, all in all, for our first shot. We want to thank Jesse for joining us as well. Hopefully we'll be hearing more of him, in future episodes as well. It's always good to have family involved with projects. And until we talk to you all again, this is G. For the whole command team at SITREP Podcast, we're going to RTB, and we will see you in the next show.